What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets podcast. You are going to want to listen to today's episode if you are trying to sell your jobs for more than the competition. So I'm not going to go into much detail. I want you to dive in. This is a super important topic. Again, for those of you wanting to separate yourself from the competition, there's one crucial thing that you need to do. So I'm excited to share it with you in this episode. The big question you need to ask yourself every day is, do I own a job or do I own a business? And unfortunately, the majority of contractors out there own a job. That's right, they're a slave to their own business. But the other side of the fence is so much greener, it's so much better, and that's when you're finally fully in control of your destiny, your freedom, your time. And that's what Contractor Secrets is about. It's about taking back our time, building a business with systems, standards, values, procedures, putting yourself in the driver's seat. And that's what it's about. So I'm excited. I'm happy to have you here. Let's dive into the Contractor Secrets podcast. What's up, everyone? So, I had such an interesting experience with this guy that helped me by detailing my car, and it really opened my eyes to how many of us could be undervaluing our services. And I don't think it's so much done intentionally. I just think that the customers that we're trying to convey who we are, what we do, how we do it to, they can't justify paying more than the competition. So therefore, by default, we lower our prices, we lower our standards, and we just go ahead and lock in the job when we could have sold it for way more. And this is a challenge that we're going to continuously have to overcome. And a smart business owner has a strategy for this challenge, knowing that this is the game that we have to play. And I first want to preface this by saying, my experience in car sales has really helped me understand the dynamic of what it is that we're actually selling and how we kind of have, we're playing a little bit of a disadvantage if we're selling a service rather than a product. Although, yes, when we paint a house, that is the product, painting the house and the end result. But essentially, the service is what's being sold during the estimate. And when the service is being sold during the estimate, the major drawback is your customer can't touch it, they can't feel it, they can't smell it, they can't sit in it, and they can't experience the feeling of sitting inside that brand new car, so to speak. So when I was selling cars, the car did some of the selling for me, and ultimately I didn't have to really dive deep into creating that experience. I didn't have to explain to the customer, hey, when you sit in that car after you purchase it, you're going to have such a feeling of satisfaction. You're going to have that new car smell. You're going to feel the shine on the armor all on the on the steering wheel, right? I didn't have to paint that picture for the customer, because ultimately what would happen is we would just do a test drive and they would experience it for themselves. But it's interesting because in the painting business and the roofing industry, if you're installing fences or you're doing tile work, you have to kind of paint the picture of what the experience is going to look like for the customer, not the product, okay, the experience, because ultimately that is what is going to get people to pay more. So for me, I'm wired to talk about the experience. Like it's something that like doesn't even, like, it's not like something I'm second guessing. Like, should I tell them how good of communication we have? Should I tell them how much they can trust us? Should I tell them about how great our guys are? Should I tell them about how they're going to feel when it's done? It's not like that for me. It's like, if I want to sell this job for the prices that I'm trying to sell it for, then I have to do this. It's essentially like I have to put them in the car, so to speak. And I really want you to grasp that concept, because I think that we assume that people can put together an idea of what this experience is like. And it's interesting because I didn't really take this as serious when I first started, until I started asking people this very important question. Have you ever had your house painted by a professional contractor before? And I use that wording very carefully, professional contractor before. I'm not talking about the handyman, I'm not talking about the neighbor. I want to know, has a professional company painted your house before. Okay. Obviously, insert whatever your trade is. So for me, it's like I wanted to know what it is that I'm either being compared to or I'm being held to in terms of a standard. Okay. So if they had a franchise come in, let's say the franchise did a really good job and they created a really good experience, I want to know about that experience so I can capitalize on things that they appreciated. Or if there was a customer that came and told me that they had a handyman do it and he did a poor job, well, I want to know what it was that was a pain point for that customer so I can turn around and make sure that they know that we won't allow that to happen. Okay, so remember, people pay more for a better experience. Okay, why do you think that if you go on a cruise, the balcony costs more? Okay, the room could be the same size on the cruise, but the balcony costs more. Why? Because it's going to enhance your experience. So by nature, in sales and in marketing, we are channeled to pay more for a better experience. Okay, again, I just want you to understand, and I want you to kind of play it like this: the marketplace is ignorant. Okay, and that's not meaning in like a derogatory way. I'm just saying the marketplace is ignorant to your processes. They don't know what you do and how you do it. You don't have a car to show them. So as a salesperson, as a business owner, you have got to paint the picture. Okay? And it's interesting, yes, I'm in the painting business, so no pun intended, but roofing guys, tile guys, all of you that listen to this, use whatever trade you are and paint that picture of the experience. So the experience has a couple different aspects that you should be talking about. Okay. So, number one, we got to know the why. You guys know that that's foundational for my sales process, is understanding what the why is, because you can bring that into the experience. Okay. If the guy tells you, my wife has been asking me to get this done for so long and she's really excited. Well, hello, I'm going to bring that up about the experience, about how excited she's going to be. I mean, it's pretty self explanatory. If someone's telling me that they're moving into a house, I'm going to bring up the experience of the feeling when they see all the walls painted the color of their choice and how smooth the process is going to go. Okay. The experience, right? Because ultimately, what we want to do is we want to give customers their best case scenario. Hello, if the guy says to me that his wife wants the house painted and she's excited about it, well, what's his best case scenario? The house gets painted and she gets excited when it's done, and probably off of his back, because he procrastinated. So ultimately there's some things there that we can talk about and elaborate on. Same goes for somebody who's moving into a house. What is that customer's best case scenario? Well, their best case scenario is that the house gets painted on time and they can coordinate the other different things that they got going on, movers and different trades around the house painting. So you've got to identify what it is that you're doing and why, and what would be the ideal scenario for the customer that you're serving. Okay, very, very important. Okay, so what we're doing is we're helping the customer align their best case scenario with our service, right? So that's another really important aspect of our sales process. Okay. But really, getting down to the gritty here, I just kind of want to share with you an experience that I had with a gentleman that detailed my car. So I was, driving home, and I'm thinking, man, I would love to get my car detailed. I have never had it done. So maybe somebody who's looking for your service says, man, I'd love to get my house painted. I'd love to get flooring. I've never had it done. And three houses down, so be the manifestation that occurred in this moment, because I was like, I was saying it 3 minutes before in my mind. I would love to get my car detailed. So boom, this guy's here, three houses down. He's seems to be doing a good job. I could just see him moving fast and going back and forth from his truck. His truck wasn't like a brand new truck. It had some wear and tear, but he had a little sign on the side of the door that had his company name with a phone number. So to me, I'm like, all right, that's cool. And as he was grabbing one of those paper mats that you get when you go to get your car serviced, and they put it on the floor, and he was actually finishing up the wash, and he was putting one of those in there. So I'm like, man, that's cool that he purchased those, and he actually, even though it's mobile detailing, he brings those, and I could tell that little bit of detail was something that intrigued me. So I didn't even look at his job. I just saw the guy out there, and one more thing that stood out to me is he had this pressure washing tank in his trailer, so he can clean the cars. Like, so this guy had the setup. I mean, you could see that he was working hard. So I pulled over, I went up to him and I asked him, I said, "Hey man, I'd love to have you do my cars. Do you have any time today?" Or he's like, "Oh no, I don't, but I can come tomorrow." I was like, "Okay, do you have a business card?" "Okay, thanks. Hey, just real quick, how much do you charge? Just curious." He's like, $25. I said, in my head, I'm like, $25? What? All right, well, okay, cool. Well, thanks, man. We'll come back tomorrow. So guy had good communication. He hit me up, and I'm working. It was Friday, so I'm in the office at my house, and I have a direct view of the driveway, and I'm looking at the way that this guy's doing his work, and it's like phenomenal, right? And I have my mother-in-law here, so I had her car done, my wife's car, my car. So I gave this guy 3 cars to do, and it's just hammering it out, man. And he's washing them twice. The second being like the wax coating or whatever, and the rims are just like they look brand new. I mean, and we're all looking outside like excited, like it's kind of weird. We're like watching this guy detail our cars. We're like, yes, because a feeling is being created within us of like, oh my gosh, like number one, like clutter stresses me out, and most of us. So like I know that, like, okay, cool, my car's not going to be cluttered anymore, and those crumbs that I keep looking at, from a protein bar, aren't going to be there anymore. Like little things like that. Like I'm just kind of like really excited, and so is my wife. And like my mother-in-law, she kept saying, "Well, I've had my car cleaned in 6 months. I always tell myself I want to do it, but I haven't gotten it done. It just bothers me." Like, so like, what's happening here? An experience is being created through this gentleman's work, okay? And he undervalued his service. And it's not because he didn't tell me what he was going to do, because I had an idea that he was going to detail the car and do a good job, but he didn't express to me how I was going to feel when it's done, therefore justifying a higher price. Now, let me kind of give you some examples of what he could have said that would have gotten me to pay more. And he would have said, "Well, hey, just real quick, how long has it been since you had it done?" I would say, "Wow, I haven't really had my car done." Or what? Oh, excuse me. Let me go back. "How long has it been since you had it done professionally?" I said, "Well, I've never had my detail professionally." "Oh, okay. Well, like, can I just ask you a question, Tanner?" "Sure." Um, "Would you like to hear about how my process works?" "Yeah, I'd love to." "Okay, well, it's pretty straightforward, but let me give you an example of kind of what you can expect if you hire me." Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a really nice tire shine on the tires, and then we're going to make sure that we, spot shine your rims. You're not going to see anything. And, one thing that we take a lot of pride in is making sure it lasts a while. So we put a protective coating on them as well. So you should expect to get 3 to 4 weeks out of the way the tires and the rims look when they're clean. Then we do pretty much just a soap wash to get all the dirt off. And then we do a wax wash, which leaves a really nice coating on top of the car. Again, trying to get you some longevity of the way that we do it. So right then and there, I'm like, wow, like just right then and there, if he would have said this to me, I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. That's different than just a normal car wash. Okay, so what his job should have been was to separate me from a normal car wash, or me to do it myself. And that's what a lot of us need to do, okay, is show our expertise when we explain the experience, expertise. There's a root word in there that sounds similar. You can bridge the gap yourself, but let me continue. Okay, so he's saying, hey, I'm going to do this, and that's just the outside of the car. And then on the inside of the car, of course, we're going to do a nice vacuum, but I'm going to make sure that we get all the crumbs up from top to bottom, and we're going to make sure that we put an Armor All coating on all of the leather and all of the on the dashboard, on the steering wheel, and we're going to make sure that we, so on and so forth. Okay, and he's explaining to me what his process looks like, and he's going to take the carpets out, and he's going to make sure, and like, again, just giving you an example of him explaining what his process likes, what it looks like. And he's like, hey, can I ask you a question? Yeah, sure. Do you remember what it was like when you first bought your car, how it felt when it was clean? It's almost like you didn't want to, you didn't want to put any wrappers in the side, and you didn't want any condensation in the cup holder. I mean, it was such a good feeling. You probably held on to it for a couple of days, right? I said, yeah, actually, that was a good feeling. And he's like, well, that's the feeling that I hope to give to you, is that feeling of, your car feels brand new again. And I'd say, wow, I do remember that feeling. That was a good feeling. And what's interesting about it is, he's kind of just, again, and I'm using cars here, but guys, what you need to be doing is using your service, your whatever it is that you offer, okay, and explaining, hey, when that house gets painted, you're going to stand in your driveway and you're going to look at how beautiful it is. Maybe when you're walking the dog, I remember when I got my house painted, even as a the owner of the business. I mean, for the first 2 weeks, all I did was like look at it from different angles. My neighbors probably thought I was nuts, because I had so much satisfaction of the way the job looked, and that's what we want to achieve for our customers. So if he would have done that, and he would say, I would have said, oh wow, man, that's awesome. So well, how much do you charge? And he could have said, well, $100. Yeah, $100 per car. I would have said, great. Okay, well, that sounds good, because again, he told me the experience. He could have charged me $100 a car, okay, because he gave me the experience, right? And that experience is what I'm paying more for. And again, I need you guys to understand this. I've mentioned this in podcasts and previous podcasts, is that the educated buyer is going to pay more for experience. There are some individuals that are just not our customers. Don't let them confuse you. If anything, use them as practice. Use the customers that are not your customers, and they're not your customers, as practice to ask the right questions, to showcase the experience. So when you get to the right customer, you're polished. So that's what I got for you today. I'm going to end it there. Showcase the experience, separate yourself from the competition, okay, and help the customer identify their ideal scenario, okay, by asking the right questions, find out what that is, and then deliver it. And that's how you sell jobs for more than the competition. Dripjobs CRM is finally here. That's right. So Dripjobs is an automation platform for contractors, home service professionals, that's going to automatically follow up with your customers. It's going to allow you to send invoices, estimates. It's going to allow you to send out blast marketing emails to individuals based on where they are in the buying process. This software is next level. And I'm reaching out to you. You're a listener of this podcast, and I want you to be one of the first ones to give it a shot. So if you want to see what Dripjobs can do for your business, I'd love for you to head over to dripjobs.com, sign up for a free demo, and get your team involved, and let us sit with you and show you how powerful this software is. It's going to save you time, it's going to make you money, and you're going to love the features that are built into Dripjobs. So if you want to check it out, head over to dripjobs.com, and we will give you first priority, being a podcast listener, to be one of the very first to try out Dripjobs in your home service business. I'm super excited to share that with you, and I'll catch you on the next episode.